What is going on, my fellow weebs? To this day, it still surprises me the shocking rise in popularity we've seen in anime over the last 10 years. I mean, I don't think I'm ever gonna get over the fact that something I was bullied for liking in school when I was a kid is now like the super popular cool thing. One of the things that I love about anime is I truly believe that there is an anime out there for everyone. Whether it's an anime that makes you laugh, makes you cry, makes you shrink away in terror, or maybe makes you jump out of your seat and go, holy sh**. However, what I think is one of the most interesting types of anime are anime that are shockingly deep. Hello everyone, I'm Finn. Welcome back to finnfilms. Join me today as I want to discuss with you all a brand new summer 2025 anime. An anime that caught me completely off guard. An anime that is so surprisingly deep, it might just give you an existential crisis. An anime that asks the question, what happens when you treat a human like trash? The new dystopian shonen, Gachiakuta. Gachiakuta is a brand new fantasy dystopian shonen for Summer Anime 2025 that recently debuted on July 6. God, I hope I'm pronouncing this anime right. Produced and animated by Bones Films, an offshoot for Bones Studio, which is most famous probably for being the studio behind such anime as Full Metal Alchemist, My Hero Academia, and Bungo Stray Dogs. Gachiakuta tells the story of a future dystopian kind of sci-fi-esque world, where human beings have completely ruined our planet through an overabundance of trash and an unwillingness to value and care for any of our goods. The story takes place in a city divided into two halves. On one half, the hustling, bustling, wealthy city district that is kept immaculately clean all day through hands-on trash services and a city guard known as the Apostles. A city where citizens live a life of abundance with more than they could ever ask for, regularly replacing their goods whenever they are slightly damaged. On the other side of the city, across the wall, exists the decrepit slums. These slums were originally created as a place outside the city to house criminals. Over time, though, these slums have become so populated that these criminals begin having children and then raising them here. Generations later, the descendants of these criminals are known as tribesfolk and now exist in a very strict divided hierarchy between the clean streets and the citizens of the wealthy district of the city, and then the disgusting, trash-filled alley of the slums. Basically, the slums and the tribesfolk are just Australia.
The fuck you say to me, you little shit?
Essentially, think of the divide between these two peoples kind of like the divide between Zahn and Piltover in a show like Arcane, but definitely, I think, a little more fucked up. Actually, it's probably about equally as fucked up. You see, the slums were built on the edge of a massive pit, a pit known as the Abyss. A haze-covered cliffside that leads down into what I can only presume is nothingness. This being the spot where the fancy people of the city dump all of their trash. Essentially just launching it off this cliff into the unknown below. Oh yeah, and where they conduct executions. The tribesfolk of the slums being forced to watch and endure these executions essentially every day because literally it happens in their own backyard. This, in kind of the broad sense, is really the kind of crux of our story, the crux of the environment and the setting in which our story takes place in. This divide between the overindulgent and wasteful city folk on one side and the tribesfolk slum-dwelling counterparts on the other. The story really driving home the inequalities of life that both of these people experience, but more importantly, this is the story about trash. About the wastefulness that this life of excess has led to in the city, and ultimately how the wastefulness has impacted the environment and the people around the city. How they very willingly replace anything that is even minorly damaged, as we see in the opening scene of episode 1, when this mother replaces a perfectly good, yet slightly damaged toy of her daughter's. The show very much posing an idea to us, the audience. It is said that when an object is treated with care, a soul comes to inhabit said object. So then the question arises, when trash is thrown out, what comes to inhabit it? This question evolving to something even deeper and more profound as we make our way through episode 1 of this anime. What becomes of a person when they are treated and thrown away like trash? So the story of Gachiakuta revolves around our main character, a teenage tribesfolk boy named Rudo. Rudo, we learn from the early events of episode 1, is a collector and a fixer. a boy who can't stand to see the wastefulness of his neighbors in this overly abundant city, so he regularly goes on trash raids to salvage whatever he can, stealing this trash from the government officials who collect it. Now, these trash raids on the surface, especially in our world, seemingly are completely harmless and we wouldn't even consider it a crime. But in this bizarro world of Gachiakuta, this is in fact a crime seemingly punishable by death, as we watch these guards open fire on Rudo for simply stealing this trash. Yeah, I guess they take their cleanliness a little seriously. I mean, you know what they say, cleanliness is next to godliness. Some might even say it's a little cult-like. We later learn that Rudo is the son of a murderer who had been thrown into the abyss as punishment. Because of this, he is regularly bullied and judged harshly by many of the people around him, even his own tribesfolk in the slums. The other people simply assuming that Rudo will end up as a murderer just like his father, as he has the eyes of a murderer. On top of all of this, when Rudo was a boy, his father greatly injured him, leaving his hands and arms black and scarred and in constant pain, forcing him to wear gloves most of the time to hide this. This treatment then by the other people around him in the slums, causing him to become a very harsh and tsundere-esque type of character. However, there are two people that Rudo deeply cares about. One, the girl Chiwa, who he is seemingly in love with, and who he stole the tossed away stuffed animal for at the very beginning of the episode. Chiwa is this seemingly very sweet girl who also seems to deeply love and care for Rudo. And the second person being Rudo's adopted father, Regto, a rather crass man who took Rudo in as a boy. Despite his brash nature though, he seemingly is a very good person who does deeply care about his adopted son. Later on in episode 1, after finally working up the courage, we see Rudo give Chiwa this stuffed animal after repairing it. This rather angry character bursting with happiness at seeing her reaction to this gift, running home to tell his adopted father when suddenly something horrible happens. Rudo opens the door to his house, his face dropping from happiness to one of complete shock and horror, as he sees a strange masked man crouching over Regto's body, a sword sticking out from his chest. The man pushing the sword deeper inside him as his adopted father coughs up blood. In panic, Rudo rushes the man only to get easily brushed aside, as he can only watch on hopelessly as the masked man leaves, taking one of Regto's books with him. He crawls over to his adopted father, who is quickly bleeding out dying. With his last breath, he begs Rudo to change this shit world. Suddenly though, out of nowhere, Rudo is shot with a taser, as Apostle guards rush in, immediately arresting him and declaring him a murderer. The boy helplessly begs, completely stunned that this is happening. The Apostles, though, don't listen, acting as judge and jury in this moment, declaring him guilty. As the son of a murderer, to them, it is only logical that he too would one day become a murderer, as he is then dragged off to face the punishment of the abyss. We watch Rudo be strung up over the abyss in this very Christ-like symbolism, the government official declaring him guilty, and that the pit shall consume all of his guilt, as the crowd loudly chants, "Send the filth to the pit." Rudo can only continue to watch on stunned and in horror, as his fellow tribesfolk, people who like him have been treated horribly and forced to live in squalor their entire lives just because of where they were born and who they were born to, turn completely against him. Rudo begging for someone to listen to him, as he spies Chiwa in the crowd, clutching the stuffed animal that he got for her. He begs for Chiwa to believe him, that he didn't kill his adopted father, that he loved him and cared for him. Chiwa can't even look him in the eye, as she says that she believed him, but you really are a murderer's son, as she drops the toy to the ground, walking away. The other tribesfolk chanting louder, "Send the filth to the pit." Holy shit, man. This is legit like some top 5 anime betrayals right here. This scene hit me so hard emotionally when I watched it. Like, it genuinely shocked me. Like, when she dropped this toy right here, I just felt like my heart completely sink. An anime hasn't made me feel like this, I swear, since I watched the Bardock movie as a kid. Rudo then looks up completely black-pilled in this moment, as he spots the strange masked man who killed Regto in the crowd. However, before he can say anything, he is suddenly dropped down into the abyss. Just like that, the music changes to this absolutely banger track, the animation style changing as well as Rudo falls. Rudo declaring that he will send them all to hell, that every single one of them will die, as the scene fades to black. Suddenly, though, his eyes open, as Rudo is not in fact dead. His fall broken by a mountain of trash. As the scene fades out, we see something incredible. Mountains and mountains of trash, as far as the eye can see. From 2-liter bottles to Coke cans, car parts, and old electronics. It's in this moment that I realized something incredible. That this world of trash down below the slums here is actually our world. A world that long ago people inhabited, but over time has become a monumental trash dump, a trash pit. Suddenly, though, something begins stirring. As Rudo turns, behind him the trash pit begins to grow larger, revealing a giant trash monster. Rudo is saying that this place was said to be a giant trash pit, an abyss, but really, it was hell, as the episode ends. Holy shit, dude. What an absolute, insane fucking roller coaster of emotions and some shockingly real deep, very philosophical themes going on here from what on the surface is just another dystopian, shonen anime for teenagers, but in reality is something that's way deeper than that. Obviously, there's all the themes of trash and the symbolism of trash going on here. The opening line that I read out earlier, the fact that if an object is treated well, it is said to garner a soul. Then what happens to that object when it is ultimately discarded? Well, we see that here in the ending scenes of episode 1 of this anime, when all of a sudden this object seemingly all combined together to form a giant trash fucking monster. This very much being what happens to this trash when ultimately it is discarded. When all of these souls come together, it forming into this kind of Mechazoid Transformer-esque type horrible freak show, horror show being. Simultaneously, though, we have this idea of a class divide, something that very much is Arcane inspired, or at the very least it brings images of Arcane to me, of this divide between Piltover and Zaun, of abundance and slum and squalor, something that is very relatable in our society today, as these types of divides between cities, you can see this in many cities throughout the world today. However, it is these trash themes, this trash symbolism that again extends here, as the tribesfolk are treated just as much like trash, thrown away and thought so little of, just as the many objects that the people in the wealthy city seem to ultimately discard when they are of no use to them. Again, think about it. The abyss, the pit, if you will, is ultimately used as these people's giant trash heap, a giant trash dump. This is where they dump all of the trash from the city when they're done with it. However, it is also where they conduct their executions. It is where they throw the people of society that they no longer want, the trash, the vermin of society, the scum, the filth, out into the abyss. These people being treated like trash, being an embodiment of human trash. However, just like what happens with trash, just like if a piece of object, an object has a soul in it, and it is discarded, what happens to a person, to a human, when it is treated like trash and discarded? This shit is hella deep, and it's definitely not something that I was expecting from this anime. Summer 2025 so far is filled with all sorts of banging anime, from the second season of Dandadan to the second season of Kaiju 8, the part 2 of Sakamoto Days, and one of my personal favorites, the Summer Hikaru Died. Now, in addition to all of those pretty banging anime, we have a brand new anime, an anime that I knew nothing about and has completely shocked me, an anime super freaking deep, an anime called Gachiakuta. Summer 2025 legit low-key has turned into one of the best seasonal blocks of anime that I can remember in a long time. It's got a lot of reoccurring season 2 favorites that I have been very much looking forward to, and also a couple of debuts that have completely shocked me and taken me off guard. In The Summer Hikaru Died, a manga which I've been extremely excited for to see adapted into an anime, and this anime, Gachiakuta, an anime that is super freaking deep, way deeper than I was expecting from a random anime that I just decided to check out. And honestly, nowadays, when most anime do have elements of deep themes every once in a while, it does shock me to see something that is as deep and profound as something like this. I'm extremely excited to see where this anime goes and how they continue to explore these themes, as this is something that absolutely fascinates me and I think is extremely interesting. Honestly, it's probably been something like Attack on Titan that I can remember watching an anime that is as deep as this. Maybe something like Blue Eye Samurai, but again, I guess technically that's not really an anime. As always, guys, with these videos, these are just my thoughts and opinions, so let me know yours in the comment section down below. What do you think of this anime? What do you think of its super seemingly very deep themes? If you did enjoy this video or learn something new, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, as that is the easiest way to support me, guys, and it really does go a long way in putting this video into the algorithm. If you did like this video, then why don't you check out some of my other anime content on screen now, and as always, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, Auto.